Hey book lovers, I'm Elise. Today I want to talk to you about the worst books that I read in 2024. This list is in no particular order. I don't have them ranked at all. This is just a collection of books that did not work for me. The first book is Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman. I've actually seen a lot of positive reviews. I think my favorite thing about this one was the fact that it took place in Michigan. Other than that, it didn't have a lot going for it, in my opinion. This book follows a little girl. She's being haunted by this entity that she calls Other Mommy, and Other Mommy is constantly trying to ask her if she can enter her heart, and the little girl is smart enough to say no. And then she does struggle a bit with trying to open up to her parents, who are dealing with some very adult things in their life, so they're not fully believing their daughter. I think the thing that I liked the least about this one is the fact that it is entirely told from the perspective of a little girl who I'm not even sure we fully know the age of. I think she's around 8. The way that she speaks and acts in the book, she seems a lot younger than that. I need to be in the mind of an adult, I think. The way this book ended was pretty much exactly what I expected to happen. I didn't like it. Next is The Chateau by Jacqueline Goldis. This one, how do I explain this one? There's a lot of characters, and I think that initially is the thing that throws me off. Not only are there a lot of characters, but the characters, they don't feel different from one another in the writing. Like, some books do it really well where there's multiple characters, but every character feels different and unique. That was not the case for this one. So that was issue number 1. Issue number 2, I did not give a crap about this book, and I kept pushing through because I was reading it for a vlog. Premise sounds interesting. There's a group of friends who visit like one of the friends' grandma at her chateau in France, and one night somebody ends up unaliving her. So a locked room mystery a little bit as well, of trying to figure out who did it. Very ridiculous and not very believable. Like, if I had been in that situation, none of these things would have happened at all. Next is The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Keist. This one I was looking forward to. I think if I recall, I had an e-arc of it through NetGalley. It sounded very interesting. So there's this town, and seemingly overnight everybody in this town kind of disappears. Years later, 2 girls that were from that town but weren't there at the time that this like event happened, they're going back to see if they can find anything out, and there's like reporters and people trying to investigate this still to this day. And they go to the town and things happen. It's weird. It's a little trippy. I think if you like horror, like emotional horror, not emotional in the sense that the things that are happening are emotional, but there's like this heavy emotional vibe that I did not like. Like, it kind of made me feel queasy and nauseous. Not anything particular that happened in the book or that was said in the book. It's just the vibe of it that I did not like. But potentially, if you like speculative things, if you like horror, this one could potentially work for you. Next up is Expiration Dates by Rebecca Searle. I did not like this one. It was very repetitive, I think. Actually, I don't remember much about this book except for the fact that I did not like it. It wasn't good. So the whole premise is this woman, she gets these pieces of paper with a name and an amount of time on there that is implying that you're going to meet this individual with this name, and this is how long you're going to date that person. It ends up turning out that way until one day she meets a guy and gets a piece of paper, but it's blank, and this has never happened to her before. She doesn't know what to do with it. So, like, welcome to normal life, right? I really didn't enjoy it. Next up is The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard. I have officially given up on this author. This is the second book that I've read by her. The first was, 56 Days. That one was not good. This one also was not good. What do I remember from this book? Something about a car and a guy, young women being murdered, and they're like similar. You know what? I need to look this one up because I really don't remember. The story follows multiple points of view, including a woman who believes her sister was one of a handful of women abducted and murdered, members of the Irish police force following these cases, and the apparent abductor/murderer of the missing women. Overall, this story felt sluggish and never hooked me, and I didn't care about the outcome, nor did I get attached to any of the characters. But I think anyone that is a hardcore true crime fan may find this type of story entertaining and gruesome. I'm not a fan of true crime in the slightest, so that right there is a huge reason why I wouldn't enjoy it. Next up is Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. A lot of book influencers that I follow that I feel like I I get a lot from, liked this book. So I wanted to give it a try. My write-up for it on Goodreads. I appreciate the emotion of this story, but I did not get the hype surrounding it. Okay, let me try to remember. I think this one, there's a couple, their son passes away when he's young. The mom nourishes a piece of the little boy's lung or some part of his body, and it becomes Monstrilio. So it's her son, but it's not her son. It's like a part of her son. I don't know. It was very strange. Again, I appreciate the emotion. It was a very emotional book. There's a lot of grief in this, but I didn't get the hype. The Silence in Her Eyes by Armando Lucas Correa. This psychological thriller was pretty slow. The concept of the MC making friends with a mysterious woman she can't quite figure out was too familiar to find interesting. And though I liked that the MC had a rare form of blindness and the ending was slightly shocking, my overall experience with this was not great. I don't remember a whole lot about this book except for the fact that I didn't like it, which is really upsetting because I was initially really intrigued by this book. So, psychological suspense, a woman with a rare neurological condition who's convinced her neighbor is going to be murdered, kinetopsia or motion blindness. Oh, that's what it is. It's not that she can't recognize people's faces, it's that her brain doesn't process movements. She sees the world in like snapshots, which is very, very interesting. So it's like somebody could be doing something right in front of her, and if she's not blinking, she's not going to pick up on it. It was that part that really had me intrigued, but it didn't work for me, unfortunately. All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. This was one of those steamy holiday novellas that came out that a lot of people were reading. I liked a fair few of them. Not a fan of both people liking each other, but assuming that the other doesn't trope. Basically, the premise of this story is that both of these people, they are trapped together in a hot dog van that's been like remodeled to look like a Christmas themed treatmobile. And both of these people have the hots for each other, but they don't communicate that to one another. It comes out because they're stranded in a snowstorm and they have to cuddle for warmth, and it ends up coming out that they like each other, and then it's just like instant. Ward D by Frida McFadden. Frida McFadden is kind of hit or miss for me. This one takes place at a psychiatric ward. I think the main character is like a grad student or something, and part of her program is that she has to like put in hours in the field, basically. The ward that they are working in, it locks at night and they don't open it for any reason. You get to know some of the patients within the ward, and then you get to know some of the other people. I can't remember if it's necessarily dual timeline or if you're just kind of getting flashbacks, but you're not in the ward the entire time. There are scenes that take place prior. By the time this all wrapped up, I didn't buy it. Like, all of this happened in the span of one night. It was a little extra. I said I didn't care a whole lot for this one. This book takes place over one evening and it was insanely dramatic. Nearly too much. It held my attention. However, the way everything played out wasn't super exciting. And the last book on my worst books of 2024 is going to be Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake, which is kind of a bummer because actually one of the characters, there's like two main characters, so we get 2 points of view, and the one, she's in an orchestra, or like it's not like it's high school. She's in like a quartet or something similar. They travel around and like they have a show to do in Europe, I think. So the orchestral part of it, talking about the instruments, I mean, it's not a huge part of it, but it is like that's pretty much a primary identity of the one character. I actually don't even remember like who is who, to be honest with you, because then there's the other girl that I don't really remember anything about. They fall in love and they end up getting engaged. On the morning of their wedding, the one girl leaves the other girl at the altar, and I can't remember which one, so if that tells you anything. Fast forward to now, to today, the one girl is like, instead of going home for the holidays, she's going to Colorado with a friend. The friend's sister brings a friend who turns out to be the other girl. It's second chance romance, but the girl that did the leaving at the altar, it wasn't a good enough reason for me, and I feel like things were not properly resolved. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it, and I wanted to like it so badly, especially because, you know, with it being a holiday romance and the orchestral part of it, I really wanted to like it, but it did not. It did not work for me at all. All right, there you have it. Those are the worst books that I read in the year 2024. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with this or if you think I'm totally out of line on any of these books. And also let me know what your worst book of the year was. Thank you so much for watching. Please do remember to like and subscribe, and until next time.